Today, I'm going to go over 4 things that I wish I knew sooner in my drumming development. And if you're just starting out, knowing these things can help you learn faster and not go through certain struggles that other drummers go through. And if you're someone who's coming back to drumming after a long hiatus, let's say you started learning as a young child or into your teenage years, but then you took 10, 20, 30 years off, and you want to get back into it. These 4 things will help you break through bad habits and old techniques that weren't working for you much quicker. All right, so let's dive in right away to number 1. The first thing I wish I knew when I started my drumming journey is that it is easy to make bad habits. And it's much, much harder to break them. And it's not even harder if you know the right way to break these things, but it does take time. If you formed a muscle memory that is just ingrained in you, it's going to take a lot of time to break it and then create a new one. So I wish someone had told me to not worry so much about fast progress. I was also a young kid when I was learning. I wanted to do what was fun. I wanted to keep feeling like I was moving forward. But then in my 20s, I spent a lot of time breaking old habits that I had just not mastered at that younger age. All right? And some of it is just a maturity level, and it's part of the journey. But if you're at that stage of your life and you're just starting out now where you're a little bit more mature, do things the right way the first time, and you can cut down your drumming journey in no time. You can catch up to someone like me much faster. You might be able to get to a high level in 5 or 6 or 7 years. And a kid, when I was practicing, after 5 or 6 or 7 years, I had learned a lot, but I had a lot of things to fix too. And it took another 7 years probably to really hone in and tweak all of those little things. All right. So the second thing that I wish I knew sooner was the understanding of how arms, wrists, and fingers work together, as well as when they need to be the primary source of motion for your sticks on their own. Because all of these things are needed in our drumming. And so many times when you're first starting out, we zero in and we focus on just the wrist strokes happening properly, and we forget that we do need arms. All right, and that's because, there's something that feels good and powerful about wailing away with our arms. So most instructors will tell us to, hey, use your wrist, get that training. And that's very important, but we progress and forget about the arms and learn some things without arms that should have arms. So let me explain. You need arms, an arm stroke for accents, and you need arm strokes to do a true double stroke open bounce roll. Okay? If you're using wrists for these things, is it possible to get those things to happen? Yes. But your tone quality is going to be less, not as good. Your speed might struggle a little bit. The amount of tension in your playing will be greater for both accents and rolls if you're using your wrists as the primary form of propelling the sticks. So let's talk about that. Accents, we drop the weight of our arm into the practice pad or the drum. You get a lot of power, but I'm not using a lot of muscle. I'm not using a lot of whip or force. And when you're using whip or force or muscle, there tends to be a little more tension. So I'm holding the stick very relaxed. My arm is up here. I'm going to use the 5 pounds or so that my arm weighs and drop that into the pad to get a nice strong note. Okay? And I can do that really relaxed. And I can do that at different tempos. It just comes down a little lower as I get faster. But the arm is still giving the weight to the stick. Okay? For rolls, we want the arms to propel our main motion here. The wrist isn't locked, It's not rigid. It does move. Check it out. There's flex in there for the up and the down part, but the arm is the primary motion. If the wrist becomes our primary motion, there's a little bit extra tension in our grip for that, which means we have a little bit less control over how the stick bounces and the speed of the bounce and all the little like finesse and all the little tiny minute details that we learn as we develop. We don't have as much control of that. So you'll reach a certain level and then you'll want more and you'll have to change your whole technique. You'll have to get the arms going to really do it well, okay? I don't even know. You can even hear it's harder for me to keep them consistent sound. It's harder for me to play the roll faster without getting the arms involved. Stick clicking here as I try to move around just to experiment. So using those arms is important for your rolls, okay? Wrists, you should be using wrists for everything else. All of your general playing, all of this stuff is mostly wrists. Now that being said, I'm not locking my arms, I'm not squeezing them into the sides right now. There are some techniques that say that's what you should do. That's not the way I prescribe to playing, because the wrist is moving, but the arm is gonna, it's gonna flex with it, it's gonna move with it, it's relaxed. It's all moving together, but the wrist is the main motion now, but the arm isn't locked, okay? So that's where they like naturally flow together. And then the finger control gets involved first if you're bouncing your sticks, that's all finger control. Or if you want to use your fingers to propel the sticks. Now you'll notice my wrist is kind of relaxed and it's flexing and the arm has got some motion in it too, but the main thing is from the fingers, okay? And you can see that this way probably better. And you can practice that just by doing that. You can practice that by holding the stick backwards towards the butt and pulling the stick up into your forearm with your fingers. When you do this, you want to relax the wrist. Let it hang down like this so that it's sort of disengaged. If it's here, it's a little bit harder and people tend to want to go here, right, and want to do this because this isn't really a relaxed wrist. This is a relaxed wrist if you shake it out, right? So if you're here and you're trying to be good and play relaxed, it's going to want to go there. And then you're thinking like, bring it back up. It's got to be here. It doesn't. Let it be relaxed. Let it hang down. Pull them in. This is going to get you used to using your fingers to propel the stick. You can go one finger at a time to really train them individually if you want. And then back. You can do two at a time to get used to really good independence, or do them all together, okay? And you can do that same thing then on a practice pad. If you want to learn more about what I would use for that, I do have a video about control, okay, about stick and rebound control. And we break down a lot of these techniques for you in there. So check that out if you want to learn more about the finger control aspect. So that's it. The big thing for me was that I wasn't using arms for my accents in all things that I did. Sometimes I was. My teachers were really good. I had some really great teachers about making sure my sound was proper. But I was also a younger person, I was probably 7 or 8 when I started. So the maturity level there to be aware of it myself wasn't always happening, all right? So the third thing that I wish I knew sooner is that rudiments are the foundation of all great drumming. And it's not just about playing the rudiments on a page and go, I can play those sticking patterns and I can play the accents. It's about the way they were taught traditionally. These traditional practice techniques are super powerful. They're what I used when I had to rebuild myself and break through bad habits and correct improper techniques. And it's now the whole foundation of the system that I use to help my students do the same thing, to help them do it faster than I did, because I was figuring it out, and now it's, you know, easy to hand off the completed system to them. But the way rudiments were traditionally taught is really powerful. It creates really good muscle memory. It creates really good technique. All of these super slow breakdowns of rudiments. Here's a paradiddle. Being really aware of upstrokes, downstrokes, tap strokes, and when they need to happen within each rudiment. And then training it slowly with an exaggerated height because we're slower. It allows your muscles to learn it faster and more deeply. It also allows you to build speed quicker because the coordination is a little bit different with this exaggerated height than it is if you just learn paradiddles the first time like this, at this speed. You know, it's all sort of blended and gelled together, and the awareness of what's really happening with each individual upstroke, each individual downstroke, it's not really being comprehended. All right, so there are some rudimental practice techniques that I wish I appreciated sooner in my training. I am very appreciative for all of the teachers that showed me these things, the teachers that were like, hey, we need to do this. You need to take a few steps backwards, because I needed that. And chances are that all of us will hit a point in our practicing where we need to take a step backwards and refine and retweak so that we can go forward better, okay? The last thing that I wish I knew sooner in my drumming development is about rolls. I wish I understood that I shouldn't be reacting to the way my stick is bouncing to control the sound I want. Rather, you should be in total control of every little nuance of the way your stick bounces. Let me break that down. When I was first learning how to get a nice, clean, open double stroke roll, I did all the different things my teachers told me, and it was a lot of just trial and error. And then I found a sound I liked, and I found a sound that a lot of my teachers liked too. But what I was doing was pushing the stick into the practice pad really hard, and then creating tension in here to get the stick to do exactly what I wanted it to. I wasn't utilizing my back fingers like I should. And I was just kind of wailing away, and I found this way that I can get the stick to rebound, and then I would control it with a squeeze to get the sound I wanted. But I had to play into the drum head or through the drum head to get the stick to pull off the drum head with the velocity that I wanted it to, but my hand stayed down here. And it was just causing a lot of tension, and it was causing a lot of problems for me. I didn't even know it, but after years and years of hours and hours of doing this, because I practiced a lot, all those hours were building tension. It was causing some muscle damage in my hand right here, this webbing of my thumb. I don't know if you can even see it. It's still kind of like a permanent bump there. I bruised a muscle here. I was told they don't really ever go away. I'm okay now. I can drum well, and I don't have those issues, but it got really bad. I couldn't even hold my sticks in my hands anymore because they just hurt all of the time. If you let your sticks do that, and you're reacting to the way they come off the head, and you're throwing them into the head hard to get them to bounce the way you want them to, you're not really in control. You are reacting to what the sticks are doing. So to have a really true, clean, clear, even, open double bounce roll that you can play with ease and without all that tension, you have to be in complete control. And it comes from pulling the sound out of the drum, using the back fingers for control, and utilizing the surface. I don't want to play through the drum head on a roll. If I did this, here, it just gets sucked up and sucked in. So get yourself something thin. This is like a garden kneeling pad. Okay. It's been great. It's what I use now. I used to use folded towels, and I still do if I want a little extra workout. But a garden kneeling pad like this, a couple dollars at a local hardware store, will expose you, for lack of a better word. It's going to expose your weaknesses. So if you're in total control of the stick and the way it bounces, you can play on the surface and get a nice, true, open double. You'll notice when I'm doing a lot of arm action, as soon as the stick hits the surface, I'm pulling it back up. The arm is initiating, but the wrist is helping. It's there too. It's not immobile. It's not locked in, right? But the arm is the main and most important thing. The tips come out of the surface before they dig into the surface, right? They come off the surface before they dig into the surface. And that's hard to tell on a straight plastic head, right? So you'd be like, no, I'm taking it off the surface, right? And you are in some degree, but then put something mushy in front of you is not as clean as this. Okay, that's a different level of evenness. There's no emphasis on the first note. They're both even. So I wish I understood all that about rolls. And I'm just scratching the surface here. I also have a video about rolling, and we go a lot deeper into how to utilize those techniques to fix those rolls, to have true control of the sticks. One of my teachers used to have their students drum on a pot of water, and they had to play on the surface of that water to show that they weren't playing through the surface of the water. So there's all different kinds of things you can do, but using these things are going to do two things for you, right? Doing these things is going to help you get better faster if you're learning for the first time, and if you're relearning after years and years and years of playing, it's going to help you fine-tune. These things are going to help you tweak all of the little technical things that need to be tweaked, all of the little maybe tension in your playing, everything like that. It helps you fix those things faster, all right? So there it is, okay? Those are the 4 things that I wish I knew sooner in my drumming journey. I'm really grateful and thankful for my journey and the struggles I had along the way. It made me a better musician. It made me a better teacher. It made me a better person, like breaking through some of those struggles. But we don't have to have those struggles in our drumming, all right? I hope you learn the things you need to learn to break through hard times in other areas of your life. But we don't have to do it in our drumming. So if you want to learn more about things like this, if you want to learn more about how you can create an elite level of technique and an elite level of understanding of technique, I have a 3-day class. So check it out. You can sign up. It's 3 days live, right? You can go as a VIP if you want to get a little extra attention from me. It'll give you an extra hour every day. So for 3 days, you'll get an extra hour where you can really come to me with your particular struggles, and we'll make a plan for you specifically. Or you can just go with a general ticket and check it out, and you're going to get all of the instruction. You're going to get all of the system bundled up in a nice package and handed to you so you can keep practicing and getting better on your own. All right, a lot of these things, once you understand them, you can utilize them in your practicing and just help you break through little plateaus that you get, because everyone gets a little plateau once in a while. So break through them, make it easy so that it can be fun and enjoyable for you, all right? Drop some comments and let me know what you want to see for videos. Let me know if you find this helpful. Let me know what your progress has been if you're using these videos to practice. I love seeing that stuff, and I'll see you next time, all right? Keep drumming.